Hello everyone. In this video we're going to be taking a look at an article from Breitbart. Now this is probably a first for me because I've avoided Breitbart, not wanting people to go, oh well they're biased or they're fake news or this or that. And they tend to be pretty decent on reporting. Yes, they are biased, but they tend to be decent on breaking stories, especially with like the tech sector these days. So, I'm going to cover this article, and if you got a problem with it, I don't know what to fucking tell you. So now, this was published on October 9th, and it's written by Alam Bokhari, who's the senior tech reporter for Breitbart. The Good Censor leaked Google briefing amidst abandonment of free speech for safety and civility. Now, it's about way more than that. I'm surprised Breitbart went with this title, because this is about censorship and control. This is about pushing the ideologies of the left. Which, and the globalists and like, okay? Which you really can't do with an open and free internet. They seriously want a China-style internet. To try to say that they want it to be like European internet is complete bullshit. They want it like China. But let's get into the article here. An internal company briefing produced by Google and leaked exclusively to Breitbart News argues that due to a variety of factors, including the election of President Trump, the American tradition of free speech on the internet is no longer viable. Yes, because President Trump, people spoke about him. Sorry for the squeaky chair. But people spoke about him, why they wanted him as president. They spoke about what was going on with Hillary. They discussed her health. They discussed her criminality, like the Friends of Bill, like the idea of the Friends of Bill website, which I don't even know if it's still out there. Documenting the Clinton double tap to the head and heart suicides. People were talking about shit like that. Heaven forbid free speech allowed for people to talk about those things and talk about the shady shit like Benghazi and other things like that, when it comes to Hillary Clinton, and then talk about, well, hey, like on the note of me, I was talking about how I wanted Trump for president because either he's going to do good or it's going to getting him elected is going to be like a sledgehammer and take down the system, the corrupt system. That's how I saw it. And they don't want that. That's why they don't see it as viable. Despite leaked video footage showing top executives declaring their intention to ensure that the rise of Trump and the populist movement is just a blip in history, Google has repeatedly denied that the political bias of its employees filter into its products. Yes, they're lying. They are lying. See, the thing is, they want what they want. And like spoiled fucking children, they're throwing their temper tantrums. And they've been doing it for fucking 2 years at this point. You would think they would get tired of it because everyone else is. I know I am. This is not about making their platforms more friendly for like advertisers and shit like that, like it's trying to be portrayed. That's just a smokescreen. It's a complete fucking cover. But the 85-page briefing titled The Good Censor admits that Google and other tech platforms now control the majority of online conversations and have undertaken a shift towards censorship in response to unwelcome political events around the world. Yes, unwelcome because they are losing power as a result of them. The left is losing their control. The left is losing their grip. The globalists are losing their control and grip. A return to nationalism is happening. If these idiots fucking studied history, I'm surprised that because it's been such a slow, creeping, incremental march, I can see why people have been asleep to it. But if people studied fucking history, they would look back right after World War I with the League of Nations and everything else, okay? That was an early attempt at bringing about globalism. The idea was the League of Nations would eventually become a global government and it would run the world. And what got the nationalism rose up against it. And nations went, no, 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 no. Like, especially the United States, because it was, the progressives tried to sell it on the United States, and the American people went, no, 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 fuck you. Go fuck yourself. And we got pulled out of it. And when we got pulled out, others started to pull out, and it collapsed. So they learned their lesson, and they said, well, shit. Let's slowly, incrementally bring it in. And they got a little cocky, and people woke up to it, and now they're, like, dealing with the fact that people don't want their globalist bullshit. They should have turned the temperature on the pot that they're boiling us frogs in up a little bit slower, and maybe we wouldn't have noticed it. It's like they had like a muscle twitch, and it caused them to jack it up a little higher, faster than they wanted to, or faster than they should have. And them saying, hey, we control the online, the majority of the online conversation, that's fucking scary. That is so scary that these few corporations control who and who cannot speak out on the internet and have access to, large numbers of people. I mean, these places have become the public square. Examples cited in the document include the 2016 election and rise of Alternative Deutschland, AfD, in Germany. Which, let's go to this right here. This is part of that, because they did 2 articles on it, okay? And they actually talk about this in this one here, which is more about the how it's about attracting advertiser dollars and shit. But like I said, it's more than that. But let's look at their little graphic they had in there. But recent global events that undermine this utopian narrative. Now, they're talking about free speech. And this could be brought up for another section. It actually was. But it fits here. So they talk about the Philando Castile shooting. The aftermath of the Philando Castile shooting of Philando Castile was broadcast on Facebook Live, where traditional media would have had time to consider how to broadcast such sensitive, violent, and controversial content. Live streaming sidesteps this editorial process. The clip highlights the huge importance of context and moderation and the fluctuating line of appropriate censorship. There is no appropriate censorship. Censorship is wrong. Censorship is bad. I mean, this is what's fucked up. So the rise of the alt-right, and I love this one because they falsely accuse AfD of being an alt-right party here. The rise of far-right political parties and institutions such as Britain First, Germany's AfD, and Unite the Right opened people's eyes to how alt-right beliefs have been able to flourish on the internet. What? First off, Britain First is kind of seen as a joke party. UKIP has gotten way more traction. I'm surprised you didn't try to put UKIP in there. Germany's AfD is not even a far right. Okay, by German standards, it might be far right, but by like the rest of the world, like US standards, they're mildly right. I love how you try to group these groups in and label them a certain fucking way and say, oh, well, flourish on the internet because, oh, let's group Charlottesville where you had, 1,000, 2,000 tops fucking LARPers for the overwhelming majority of them. Like Chris fucking crying like a bitch Cantwell. That's your fucking poster child for this shit? 2,000 whining bitches like him who think they're all fucking tough? Are you are you fucking kidding me? Give me a fucking break. Chris, I'm on the run and I'm going to go on YouTube and cry like a bitch Cantwell, who when he gets called out for it, blocks people on like Discus. I know, I'm one of the ones that's been blocked by him. I'm also been blocked by him or muted by him on fucking Gab. Or at least, I don't know if he still is on Gab, but I was muted by him. for calling him out for his fucking shit, for being a fuckwit. That is not a rise of shit. Cantwell is the poster child for them. Okay, he's like their leader. He's a bumbling fuckwit. Okay? Fucking what's his face that got punched in the face? I'm having a brain fart. The one who kicked Sargon's ass in that fucking debate and called him Sargon. Oh, shit. But you know who I'm talking about. He's just the face. They're trying to make it sound like a few thousand people out of hundreds of millions. It's a fucking scary thing. Now, this next one really fucking gets me. Because they're actually, Google, no one fucking picked up on this. No one fucking brought this to the attention. No one fucking said shit about this one. You got Google right here saying that pedophilia in their eyes, the people who wrote this fucking report, is not a bad thing. Queer Muse, Brazil, Queer Muse, whatever the hell it is. Portuguese and me, yeah. The conservative Free Brazil movement used social media platforms to rally against an art exhibition called Queer Museu because it discussed homosexuality and pedophilia. The exhibit was eventually shut down, raising concerns about freedom of expression in digital spaces and the censorship of online-offline spaces in Brazil. You're talking about censoring the internet, but you don't want this shit censored, is what you're getting at, you sick fucks. You sick, vile motherfuckers. You are actually trying to justify that they should have a fucking art exhibit about kid diddling. Are you fucking kidding me? This right here is what should be fucking picked up on this and should be fucking put out there for the fucking normies to see. That you actually have in this internal memo that Google is promoting the idea of free speech for kid diddling. Literally. And then they throw Logan Paul in with this bullshit. A fucking half-wit fucking spurg. So Logan Paul, hugely popular YouTuber. Logan Paul drew criticism for an insensitive clip of him seeing a suicide victim in Okigahara, I butchered that, Forest, Japan. YouTube responded by removing Paul from its premium advertising program and reforming its ad restrictions. Yeah, it was just an excuse to fuck over creators, basically, and make it so that they could get a little more control over them. The controversy raised the question of how much censorship we should demand from YouTube, whether it's putting profit before people. Well, personally, I don't think, minus, say, child porn and shit like that, I don't think YouTube should really be censoring anything. That's how I feel about it. But just let that sink in about what I said about them right there. And I just showed it to you. About how they literally are trying to say that there should be free speech for kid diddling. Google is trying to say that being silenced is wrong. But silencing conservatives, that's perfectly fucking fine. They want to silence people right of them. But a kid, an quote-unquote art exhibit that promotes kid diddling? Oh, no, we can't have that censored. Butt pirates and kid diddling. Yeah, art exhibit about butt pirates and kid diddling. And I'm not anti-gay. If you want to go and marry another guy or have sex with another guy and you're a guy, that's your prerogative. The same with ladies. All right, I'm just politically fucking incorrect. So you have a butt pirate kid diddler fucking art exhibit. And Google's saying, bad that the people who actually have morals shut that down because of the kid diddling. Oh my God. Responding to the leak, an official Google source said that the document should be considered internal research and not an official company position. Bullshit! Bullshit! It's a fucking official company position. Don't let them tell you otherwise. They lie through their fucking teeth. When you literally have Their head of propaganda. Last week, this past week, I covered an article about her. When she's leaving because she can't even push the fucking lies and bullshit that they want her to, because it's actually weighing down on her conscience, that she has to leave. That says a lot. And she's a fucking leftist herself, or far left, or pretty far left at least. If you look at the article, or watch my video where I go through it, the briefing labels the ideal of unfettered free speech on the internet as a utopian narrative that has been undermined by recent global events as well as bad behavior on the part of users. It can be read in full below. Bullshit. It's not a utopian narrative. Things were working fucking fine until people started going, my feelings. And a lot of it started with the fucking millennials going, my feelings. And it was with people starting going, well, you got bullying online. It's like, well, you know what? Get the fuck offline. If your fucking kid's getting bullied online, get them offline. They shouldn't be spending their life online anyways. Be a parent. Take your kid off the fucking internet. Jesus fucking Christ. And I love this. It's been undermined by recent global events. Translation. Free speech led to Trump getting elected. We can't have that. Free speech led to the AfD, the rise of the AfD. Free speech led to Le Pen gaining a lot of steam. Free speech led to the Italian conservatives gaining control. Free speech has led to this and that. That's what they're talking about. It acknowledges that major tech platforms, including Google, Facebook, and Twitter, initially promised free speech to consumers. Yeah. This free speech ideal was instilled in the DNA of Silicon Valley startups that now control the majority of our online conversations, says the document, which they literally use that to gain users, saying you can come out here, speak your mind, you will not be censored. So that's false advertising. They use it to get people out there. And now they're going to fucking pull this shit. Like, oh, now that we got you here, sorry, well, rules are changing. But let's look at their thing for this. This free speech ideal was instilled in the DNA of Silicon Valley startups that now control the majority of our online conversations. Google. Google's atmosphere of creativity and challenge has helped us provide unbiased, accurate, and free access to information for those who rely on us around the world. Larry Page and Sergey Brin, 2004, founders of IPO letter number 1. Yeah. Founders of Alphabet or Google. Free speech allowed them to create their platform. Free speech was allowed them to develop their platform. Now they want to get rid of free speech. If it wasn't for free speech, there wouldn't be a fucking Google. If it wasn't for free speech, there wouldn't be a Facebook. Facebook is a tool to create a more honest and transparent dialogue around government. The result will be better solutions to some of the biggest problems of our time. Mark Zuckerberg, 2012 Manifesto for Investors. Yes, that was back when the left thought they controlled fucking shit. But when the right manages to use social media to its advantage, things change. Twitter. Another good example of free, it wouldn't be here if it wasn't for fucking free speech. Twitter is the free speech wing of the Free Speech Party. CEO Dick Costolo, 2017. The briefing argues that Google, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter are caught between two incompatible positions, the unmediated marketplace of ideas versus well-ordered spaces for safety and civility. Okay, and they only show one of them here. This is why I have both of them out, okay? So let's look at the full graphs for this, okay? So tech firms are performing a balancing act between two incompatible positions, which they chose to do. They built their companies in the United States and took advantage of the laws here and the Constitution to build their platforms. Now, they want to go against those laws. They want to go against free speech. They want to go against Section 230 of the decency, the online decency act, or whatever the fuck it's called right now. I'm having a brain fart. But yeah, they don't want they want to be platforms under that, but publishers and curate shit. So the tech firms are performing, a balancing act, as they said, between two incompatible things. So here they are saying, create unmediated marketplace of ideas. 100% commitment to the American tradition. You mean the United States Constitution? The 100% commitment to the American ideals that are under law that prioritize free speech for democracy, not civility. Yes, because you end up with a stronger democracy. By creating spaces where all values include civility, norms are always open for debate. Yeah, including civility norms are always open for debate. Yes, they are. See, but you don't want debate. Because you want to push shit that isn't normal as normal. Why do you think we have this ridiculous increase in percentage of trans and everything else? Because you're pushing this thing of, oh, wow, just because we say this is trans, they're trans. And you got all these people that if they went through actual went to non-quacks and got, psychologically tested for this shit, odds are most of them wouldn't be considered trans. Because a lot of them are trans trenders on that note. Look at what you just tried to push. You're trying to say that having a fucking art exhibit of butt sex and child molestation should be allowed because you think that's normal. And you're trying to push that as normal. But when people actually question it and say, hey, wait a minute, this isn't morally or ethically right, you don't like that. So on the other side, create well-ordered spaces for safety and civility. 100% commitment to the European tradition that favors dignity over liberty and civility over freedom. I've never known the European tradition of dignity over liberty and civility over freedom. That's a relatively recent thing. I mean, throughout history. If that was the case, if that was the fucking case, the Magna Carta wouldn't have fucking been written. The French Revolution would have never happened. What the fuck are you idiots smoking? This is pure propaganda, lies, and bullshit. By censoring racial and religious hatred, even when there's no provocation of violence. But who considers a statement or, a comment online or a tweet or whatever racial or religious hatred? Oh, that's right. Leftists and everything to them that's whatever they see fit can be classified under racial or religious hatred. Mention the fact that blacks almost consistently around the world commit more crimes than whites. That could be considered racial hatred. But it's a fucking fact. So, in the past, their position was clear. Create unmediated marketplace of ideas, neutral aggregator platform. Create well-ordered spaces for safety and civility. Yeah, it was tilted like that. Because even back then, Europe was kind of about civil liberties and freedom and free speech and shit like that. It wasn't until they decided to, like Merkel, decided to try to take over, become Mrs. Hitler, and try to take over all of Europe using an influx of illegals, these supposed refugees, yeah. That's when they started cracking on down about shit. Because people were like, wait a minute, what the fuck are you doing? We don't want them here. Oh, that's hate speech. We're arresting you. But tech firms have gradually shifted away from unmediated free speech towards censorship and moderation. And they're trying to make this sound like it's good. Create unmediated marketplace of ideas. Create well-ordered spaces for safety and civility. Politicized editor, publisher. So they're admitting they're going to politicize shit, that they want to politicize shit, but they only want to push their politics. You gotta love that. The first approach is described. The first approach is described as a product of the American tradition, which prioritizes free speech for democracy, not civility. The second is described as a product of the European tradition, which favors dignity over liberty and civility over freedom. The briefing claims that all tech platforms are now moving toward the European tradition. The briefing associates Google's new role as the guarantor of civility with the categories of editor and publisher. This is significant given that Google, YouTube, and other tech giants publicly claim they are not publishers but rather neutral platforms, a categorization that grants them special legal immunities under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. Yeah, they're lying out their asses to protect themselves because they're hoping that politicians are too fucking stupid to realize that they are publishers and demand that there's an investigation. They're hoping that normies are too fucking stupid to realize it. Trump conspiracy theorist. One of the reasons Google identifies for allegedly widespread public disillusionment with internet free speech is that it breeds conspiracy theories. Free speech leads to conspiracy theories. When free speech allows for ideas to be put out into daylight and into sunlight, and sunlight's the best disinfectant. I don't know what to tell you on that one except they're fucking morons. The example Google uses, a 2016 tweet from then-candidate Donald Trump alleging that Google's search suppressed negative results about Hillary Clinton, which turned out to be fucking true. It was independently verified multiple fucking times. At the time, Google said it suppressed negative autocomplete suggestion. At the time, Google said that it suppressed negative autocomplete suggestions about everybody, not just Clinton. But it was comparatively easy to find such autocomplete results when searching for Bernie Sanders or Donald Trump. Independent research from psychologist Dr. Robert Epstein also shows that Google search results, if not autocomplete results, did indeed favor Hillary Clinton in 2016. Well, no fucking shit. It wasn't like you had to be a fucking rocket scientist to figure that out. Or in the case of the left, a rocket surgeon. Because they put out useless degrees like that. I mean, I'm sure they actually believe that there's actually rocket surgeons out there that go and perform surgery on rockets. Elon Musk has like a whole fucking group of them that are on staff, and they go out there and they perform surgical procedures on rockets. Yeah, I'm sure the left believes in shit like that these days. When it comes, all right, this is thrown out there as a different part, but let's look at this. When it comes to users, all of this bad behavior and mismanagement, leaving users feeling powerless, frustrated, and confused, impacts trust. It's a nightmare. I can't trust YouTube anymore. Yeah, you can't. Matan Uziel, whose video protesting sex trafficking and gendered abuse was demonetized. Yeah, because he's independent media and he's reporting on shit that obviously YouTube don't like. Incites criticism. How a half-educated tech elite delivered us into chaos. John Naughton, The Guardian. Increases calls for regulation. Why do we need to regulate tech platforms? Rana Fosher, The Financial Times. Breeds conspiracy theories. Google search engine was suppressing the bad news of Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump 2016. Yeah, it turned out to be true, too. Twice in the document, Google juxtaposed a factoid about Russian interference and American elections with pictures of Donald Trump. Now, that's not biased at all. At one point, the document admits that tech platforms are changing their policies to preempt congressional action on foreign interference. Which, the funny thing is, it's the left pushing for that shit and neocons, okay, like rhinos. And a lot of those neocon rhinos are just fucking clueless. The left is pushing that shit to try to sell their fucking narrative of Russian interference. And they want it to intervene because they're hoping that they can just get their foot in the door and then stop legitimate people in the United States from voicing their concerns and possibly helping to sway an election in numbers by their doing it, in the numbers of them doing it. The document did not address the fact that, according to leading psychologists, the impact of foreign bots and propaganda on social media has a negligible impact on voters, especially when almost all of your fucking ads that you use as evidence, you stupid fuckwits on the left, happen to be posted and come out after the election. Little convenient truth you leave out. From suggestions to company policy, it is unclear for whom the good censor was intended. What is clear, however, is that Google spent or paid someone to spend significant time and effort to produce it. Yeah, and the report was several layers of research. Cultural trends, supposedly desk research, academics and industry studies. So you had fucking academia involved, supposed cultural leaders, cultural observers, supposedly expert interviews. Basically, this is just some bullshit fucking pyramid that they're using to try to justify this propaganda bullshit. According to the briefing itself, it was the product of an extensive process involving several layers of research, including expert interviews with MIT Tech Review Editor-in-Chief Jason Ponton, Atlantic staff writer Franklin Foer, and academic Caleb Latrow, 35 cultural observers, 7 cultural leaders from 7 countries on 5 continents were also consulted to produce it. Yeah, which, you look, Brazil's government don't like the fact that the fucking people are speaking out and they're losing their fucking grip. Their fucking deep state fucking shill bullshit, okay? They got a conservative coming in, okay? India, they got their own fucking problems. UK, you're talking about these cultural leaders. I love this, okay? UK. Their cultural leaders are probably all fucking far left fucking shitbags. Denmark, same thing. Australia, same thing. Japan, probably the only ones where you got, quote unquote, what they would consider misogynists, even though they're just traditional culture. Cultural observers, same idea. Probably all fucking leftists, okay? They're expert interviews, okay? Big fucking whoop. What is also clear that many of the briefing's recommendations are now reflected in the policy of Google and its sibling companies. Well, no shit. You think they're going to have this shit written up and not enact it? This was intended to be corporate fucking policy. For example, the briefing argues that tech companies will have to censor their platforms if they want to expand globally. Google is now constructing a censored search engine to gain access to the Chinese market, which they actually did have a Google at one time in China. That was censored. They already had a search engine that was censored in China. They chose to pull out because it was not financially lucrative for them. Why now, when it wasn't financially lucrative for them back then, all of a sudden is it? It shouldn't be. They're not going to gain market share. There's already these... You've got the Chinese equivalent to Google that owns complete fucking market share. This is not about getting a foot in the Chinese fucking market. This is about developing a product under the guise of developing it for China that they're eventually going to roll out, mark my words, roll it out on the rest of the world globally. That's the intent. I mean, when you have this shit going on, that's the intent of it. China's just a smokescreen. They've already been there. They've already had a censored search engine that failed. There's no money in it for them. They were not going to go and sink all this money to try to get back into China when the market's cornered. And they failed already once. If you believe that they're trying to get a foothold in there, they're not going to, and you're a fucking moron. You really are. If you believe that shit. This is about a cover for them developing this for outside China. Plain and simple. The document also bemoans that the internet allows have-a-go commenters, in other words, ordinary people, ordinary people, to compete on a level playing field with authoritative sources like the New York Times. Oh, fake fucking news. Yeah, why? You know why they're able to compete? Because the New York Times, like the Washington Shitpost, like CNN, like MSNBC, like all these legacy media outlets, they lie through their fucking teeth. Do you know how they're lying? Their lips are fucking moving. And the alternative media doesn't need massive infrastructure to come out here and offer competing viewpoints and reporting on things that they don't want to say they don't want to necessarily cover, or intentionally don't want to cover, or whatever. They don't like that. I mean, hell, they've got this huge corporate infrastructure, whether it's the New York Times, CNN, MSNBC, whatever. Me, I'm one person with a laptop that's over 4 years old, a friggin', because, even though they're mechanical switches and they got a little bit of travel in them, I prefer the old school ideal of, mechanical switches. So I have the HP Omen, gaming keyboard that I bought on fucking clearance, all right, and bought it for well under what I could even get it for online at this point. The only reason I bought it is because it was cheaper than buying like a non-gaming one, mechanical keyboard. It wasn't necessarily for the fact of gaming, because my other machine I occasionally game on. All right, so here I am. I have a discount clearance keyboard, a 4-year-old fucking laptop, a cheap fucking Hisense TV as my second monitor, and I'm able to compete. Mind you, I'm a lot smaller presence than, say, some other people, but I'm just using myself as an example. I've got equipment like that, and I'm able to put out content that, in theory, can compete and beat the legacy media. I mean, if you look at people on that idea, like the bigger people out there that like Dave Cullen or Styx Hexenhammer 666 or Steven Crowder or any of the people out there that are on the alternative side of things, they're able to gain much more viewership than the legacy media. They're able to gain a lot stronger following. Hell, Mark Dice is another example. I mean, he tends to get, for views on his video, the same amount of viewers that CNN will get in prime time on a show. So they're fearing that. Google-owned YouTube now promotes so-called authoritative sources in its algorithm. The company did not specifically name which sources it would promote. Well, of course not. Would you admit that you're promoting fake news, Washington Shitpost, fake news, CNN, Wikipedia that now says that Breitbart cannot be used as a source there? The same Wikipedia that's saying that because some leftist outlet called Sargon of Akkad, and I can't stand that fuckwit, that's Spurg, but I'll defend this. They're trying to claim he's alt-right because some leftist outlet said he was. Even though you have quotes of him saying where he's not, and his videos can show that he's not, yeah, they won't use that as like actual sources, like directly from the person's mouth. Even though he's a waste of space, a Spurg who's raising another man's dinosaur, but hey. Key points in the briefing can be found on the following page numbers. Let's go through these really quick here. Page 2. The briefing states that users are asking if the openness of the internet should be celebrated after all, and that free speech has become a social, economic, and political weapon. Really? Who are these users? Seriously, because I don't know of anyone except a fucking leftist who would say that shit. The majority of Americans wouldn't say that shit. The majority of Brits these days wouldn't say that shit. Majority of Europeans wouldn't say that shit unless they're fucking leftists. Actually, I should say the majority of Europeans would probably say that because they are fucking leftists these days. Or at least it seems that way. Page 11. The briefing identifies Breitbart News as the media publication most interested in the topic of free speech. Could it be because Breitbart is about free speech? Because they want to have it? Because they know if there isn't free speech, people like you on the left will try to censor them? Could that be why? Page 12. The briefing says the early free speech ideals of the internet were utopian. No, they weren't utopian. This fucking cultural Marxist bullshit of you're going to silence people and people are going to have their feels over reals, that's fucking utopian. Page 14, the briefing admits that Google, along with Twitter and Facebook, now control the majority of online conversations. Yes, and they're proud of this fact, and they love that they're able to control the majority of conversations. Why do you think they wield their power like a drunken fuckwit when it comes to banning people from their platforms? Look at Twitter on that note alone. I mean, this is ridiculous. The shit that they got in this thing. And I mean, I went through it quickly. And, I mean, these are some good highlights, though. Page 15, Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act is linked to Google's position as a platform for free expression. Elsewhere in the document, page 68, Google and the platform's move towards moderation and censorship is associated with the role of a publisher, which would not be subject to 230's legal protection. Yeah, no shit. Pages 19 through 21. The briefing identifies several factors that allegedly erode faith in free speech. I love these things. The election of Donald Trump and alleged Russian involvement identified as one such factor. It was free speech that got Trump fucking elected. Because it was the people. You don't like the fact, this is what gets me. They don't like free speech because the people spoke. People talked to each other. People were able to convince other people, hey, maybe you should vote for Trump. Okay. And because that happened, their faith in free speech was eroded because people didn't come to the same fucking conclusions as them. Which you have to be like, riding a short bus wearing a hockey helmet, fucking, mentally retarded moron to come to those conclusions that these idiots did and feel that free speech was eroded. And the alleged Russian involvement. There's absolutely no proof that Russia was involved. Seth Rich did the DNC. Your proof of Russia is advertising that was, well, the majority of your proof is advertising that was put out after the election. That, if anything was designed, if there was a design, to instigate all sides. Huh. Yet that swayed the fucking election. Oh my God. The rise of the populist Alternative for Deutschland, Alternative for Germany party in Germany, which the briefing falsely smears as alt-right, is another. Yes. Which I showed you that. I mean, that's some fucked up shit. Pages 26 through 34. The briefing explains how users behaving badly undermines free speech on the internet and allows crummy politicians to expand their influence. The briefing bemoans the racist, misogynists, and oppressors are allowed a voice alongside revolutionaries, whistleblowers, and campaigners. It warns that users are keener to transgress moral norms behind the protection of anonymity. Oh my God. Okay. So what they're getting at here is people who put reals over feels undermines free speech and allows for crummy politicians to expand their influence, meaning Trump. Because people were able to put reals over feels out there, he got elected. That's what they're saying. And then I love this. The racist, misogynists, and oppressors are allowed a voice alongside revolutionaries, whistleblowers, and campaigners. So what, like Che Guevara, so what you call them revolutionaries? People like Fidel Castro types, Mao, Zedong, because usually when the left calls someone a revolutionary, they're a communist murdering shitbag. Matter of fact. Matter of historical fucking fact. Who they call revolutionaries or murderous fucking shitbags are like despot murdering scumbags. And the thing is, you want to talk, okay, so racists. All you people on the left that use people of color, all you people on the left that think that blacks can't, blacks and Hispanics and other minorities can't go down to the DMV and get themselves a driver's license or a non-driver's ID because they probably don't know where it is, by your logic, whatever. you're the racist. So what you're saying is that you shouldn't have a platform alongside actual revolutionaries and whistleblowers and campaigners like Trump? Are you saying you calling for the censorship of yourself? Because that's what I'm kind of seeing there. It's all a matter of perspective. And you are the oppressors. You're trying to oppress everyone and force them into your ideology. So there, yeah, you talking about yourselves again? On that note. And this idea of it warns that users are keener to transgress moral norms behind the protection of anonymity. When shitbags like Antifa and CNN will dox someone because they don't like what they have to say, and there's what they've said was found offensive by them, and even though a year, 3, 4, 5 years ago was considered the moral acceptable stance, the generally acceptable stance, now that's not the case. So people hiding behind anonymity allows for them to express these ideas that you're trying to suppress and oppress and push out of the cultural lexicon. And you don't like that because you think that people should be shamed. You think that people should be intimidated. You think that people shouldn't be allowed the idea of anonymity, which is a key aspect of free speech. I mean, this is some fucked up shit. Page 37. The briefing acknowledges that China, for which Google has developed the censored search engine, has the worst track record on internet freedom. Yet, here they are. They're literally creating a product that they had already created once and could not make financially feasible in China. They're doing it again, supposedly to get into the Chinese market that's already been cornered. No, they're doing it, as I said. They're going to use it against the rest of us. They were just developing and said, oh, well, it's for China, to try to cover for it. It was a smokescreen. Page 45. After warning about the rise of online hate speech, the briefing approvingly cites Sarah Jiang, infamous for her hate speech against white males, which it does. Google is currently facing a lawsuit alleging it discriminates against white males among other categories. Yes, this is funny. Page 45. The briefing bemoans the fact the internet has, until recently, been a level playing field, warning that rational debate is damaging when authoritative voices and have-a-go commentators receive equal weighting. Oh, God. This is fucking hilarious. Their idea of a level playing field is that the legacy media was having control of the internet. Now, because the average people have control over the flow of information, rational debate is damaged because there are authoritative voices, meaning the legacy media, are getting called out for their bullshit, like when Chris Cuomo, which I'm sure this is probably where this came from in part, when Chris Cuomo goes out on CNN and goes, yeah, the DNC WikiLeaks, it's illegal for you to look at that, but because we're reporters here at CNN, a term I'm sure he was using very loosely, we're able to look at that legally. So we're the only place that you can get the information on the DNC leaks. And the alternative press went, no, fuckwit. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. And they made him look like a complete fucking idiot along with all of CNN on that one. And I'm sure that's what kind of brought this about. Them saying this. And how they shouldn't have equal weighting. Because they destroyed CNN on that one. Page 49. The document accuses President Trump of spreading the conspiracy theory that Google autocomplete suggestions unfairly favored Hillary Clinton in 2016. Trump's suspicions were actually correct. Independent research has shown that Google did favor Clinton in 2016. No shit. Page 53. Free speech platform Gab is identified as a major destination for users who are dissatisfied with censorship on other platforms. Well, to be more accurate, a lot of them are the refugees who got depersoned and deplatformed from those other, like Twitter and Facebook and such. Page 54, after warning about harassment earlier in the document, the briefing, and I love this was another good one. The briefing approvingly describes a 27,000-strong left-wing social media campaign as a digital flash mob engaged in friendly counter-commenting. So it's okay for them to send 27,000 people after someone. That is a friendly counter-commenting digital flash mob. But one person trolling someone on the internet that is doing it to a leftist, I'm sure to them is harassment. Page 57, the document juxtaposes a factoid about Russian election interference with a picture of Donald Trump. Yeah. They're trying to basically show, well, he's here because of Russia. They're trying to make a false equivocation with that. Page 63, the briefing admits that when Google, GoDaddy, and Cloudflare simultaneously withdrew service from the website, The Daily Stormer, they were effectively booting it off the internet, a point also made by the Electronic Frontier Foundation and the FCC in their subsequent warnings about online censorship. Yeah, and they were proud that they did it. Now, I don't agree with The Daily Stormer, all right? I really don't. I'm not alt-right. But I believe that they should have their right to be a platform, their right to have their website, their right to have a domain. And they were proud of what they did with him, with England. And it just goes to show. They think they're morally superior, and they'll do sleazy, shitty things because they feel that. Oh, God, this is some fucked up shit. This should be scaring the shit out of people. It really should. Page 66 through 68. The briefing argues that Google, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter are caught between two incompatible positions. The unmediated marketplace of ideas versus the well-ordered spaces for safety and civility. The first is described as a product of American tradition, which prioritizes free speech for democracy, not civility. The second is described as a product of the European tradition, which favors dignity over liberty and civility over freedom. The briefing claims that all tech platforms are now moving towards the European tradition. No, they're moving towards the Chinese model. Again, why do you think, when they've already failed once in China, Google is going to waste money on a search engine that's going to fail, search algorithm that's going to fail in China a second time because the market has been cornered. They ain't even going to get the idea of proportionally Ask Jeeves in China. Well, Ask Jeeves outside of China. That percentage, which is jack shit at this point. I mean, it uses other algorithms. I believe it actually uses Google. But yeah, that's maybe what they'll get for market penetration. The idea was to develop this, say it was for China, to throw off the developers that they could get on board and have them develop the next iteration of the Google search engine for the rest of the world. Page 70. The briefing sums up the reasons for big tech's shift towards censorship, including the need to respond to regulatory demands and expand globally, to monetize content through its organization, and to protect advertisers from controversial content and increase revenues. Which is all a smokescreen for their fucking censorship and pushing the globalism and the leftist fucking crap. The profit is secondary to them at this point. I mean, if you look at how these companies have acted, it's not in the interest of profitability and making money for their shareholders. It clearly isn't. I mean, to monetize through the organization to protect advertisers is all fucking complete shit. All they would need to do to protect advertisers is say, the views of this video are not the views of the advertiser, right as the commercial's coming up. Boom. Make that clear. Solves your problem. Page 74 to 76. The briefing warns that that concerns about censorship from major tech platforms have spread beyond the right-wing media into the mainstream. Yes. Meaning you can't fucking get away with it. And you're scared about that fact, which just goes to show that they were hoping to enact this shit with the normies asleep. Like with Google, this search engine that they've been developing supposedly for China. Roll it out, boom, set it up, and it'd be too late for the normies to do anything. But this is just some fucked up shit. It really is. If anyone buys into the fact that this was not internal corporate policy, that this was not done to look and see what the company could do to change, to enact their will on the masses, to force globalism and leftist fucking shit down the throat of people, if you believe that, you're a fucking moron. I mean, I look at Styx and his coverage of this, and he's talking about the monetary aspect because he had the other article and it didn't click with him beyond that. I mean, even looking at the other article myself, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. This has nothing to do with money. This has nothing to do with increasing profits. This has nothing to do with any of that. This is about the left losing control and scrambling to do anything and everything that they can to try to stop the hemorrhaging of their power away from them. Because they're hemorrhaging when it comes to that. They're losing it. It's like the idea of like a dam with leaks. They're sticking their fingers in the leaks, and as they stick their finger in a leak, another leak pops. So now, you know, they got toes and fingers and everything else. And they're looking at this going, what the fuck can we do? Which leads to extremes like this. And they try to call the people that are right of them the extremists. Go figure. Anyway, I've covered this well enough. I'm just going to leave things here. If you liked this video, depending on where you are watching it, please give it an upvote or thumbs up. If you want to know when new content of mine hits the internet, don't forget to subscribe to one or more of my social media or video accounts listed here. Also, with YouTube, don't forget to ring that bell. You can find all of my video content on both BitChute and YouTube. This may not be the case with other places I upload to, but I will try to minimize this happening. You are always welcome to interact with me at any of these sites on the list, so feel free to do so. If you have anything you want me to cover in a video, when it comes to news or current events, send it right along to me. I will try to do my best to cover it. As always, thank you for watching.